Sorry if I'm holding you up, but these are the points continuing on the etiquettes of a guest. One morning, guest meaning the etiquettes for the person coming to stay with somebody, and also, so we're at point 75. One morning, the author came to the madrasa from the fields and sat quietly in one of his rooms where an associate was sleeping. The postal clerk brought him some outgoing letters and check. After reading them, the sheikh handed them back, and the clerk dropped these letters in a tin loudly, prompting the author to warn him to be cautious of those sleeping. One night after Isha prayer, the author laid down to rest in the mosque when a traveller came and began to massage his feet without saying anything. Obviously in India, out of respect, we massage our elders' feet. The sheikh felt uneasy and asked him who it was, but did not recognize the response. He asked the visitor to stop and told him it's best to first greet somebody, then ask permission before touching them in such a way. Otherwise, such a service will make the receiver feel uncomfortable. If his purpose of giving the message was to greet the sheikh, then this is obviously not the right method. Moreover, the time after Isha prayer is for rest, so it is inappropriate to try to greet and speak to people at that hour. An individual once wrote a letter asking some questions and said he will send some money by post. So the author delayed replying in order to send the receipt along with the answers. Several days went by, but the money did not arrive, and other matters came up. After several days of waiting, a letter was sent to him saying he should not have mentioned the money or the question or the questions should not have been sent altogether. A man once brought his son. The Sheikh, they're giving example from his life. Mawlana Ashraf Ali Thanawi rahmatullah alayhi was very particular about correcting. Like if you do something wrong, he'll fix you. Many mashayikh, there's two types of mashayikh. One is they have a lot of shafqat, a lot of affection. So they won't tell you anything. They'll tolerate. You do wrong things, they'll keep sabr. There's other type of mashayikh. Sometimes it's better to be. My teacher once was put in the khidmah service of some ulama, senior ulama. And his brother, older brother, changed to another sheikh. They were visiting from another country. And he got upset. He was like, I've been appointed to serve this sheikh and he put me with another sheikh without my permission. And why, He said, no, you go with them. They will make sabr and they'll tolerate you and they will not say anything to you because they're polite. That sheikh, if you do something wrong out of line, he'll do your tarbiyah. He'll actually explicitly mention to you. Many people don't like to be told. We should learn if we're wrong, we're wrong. Like if we're correct. An individual once wrote a letter asking some questions, said he will send the money. I mentioned that. A man once brought his son and protested about the principal of another school dismissing his son. The author calmly explained that he had no influence on that particular institute, to which the father remarked that the sheikh was their patron. The sheikh explained that his associate sponsored the school, but he himself had no input. However, the father repeated his complaints and he was asked, other than backbiting, is there any outcome to this conversation? After all, the man stood to leave and when shaking the sheikh's hand again, complained. This angered the author, who became harsh with the man due to his hatred of backbiting. After Isha's prayer one night, the author was performing his night prayers when a man he had spoken to earlier started walking towards him. The sheikh saw that he was hesitating, waiting for permission to speak, as they had already spoken, and the man actually didn't have any need but only wanted to sit with the sheikh. He was informed that the time after Isha is not a time to meet others. It is poor etiquette to distract others from their nightly prayers, especially unnecessarily. Furthermore, the manner of seeking permission is to at least say something. The combination of these factors caused the sheikh great displeasure, so he came forward and said, "Dear friend, this is not a time to sit with people." The man replied, "I was on my way to have some water," which caused even more annoyance, but he insisted it was the truth. So the sheikh exclaimed, "Then why did you walk in such a way that caused me doubt?" One student, Zayd, asked for permission to go out in the evening with a fellow student, Amr. However, these are hypothetical. Zayd and Amr are like in books mentioned, without mentioning the real names of people. However, earlier young, always Zayd beats up Amr. These are in Nahu, this example is always given. That however, earlier younger boy Bakr had already asked permission to go with Amr, and the teacher did not like Zayd and Bakr hang out with each other. Therefore, it was Zayd's responsibility to inform his teacher when asking permission from Bakr. Bakr will also be with him. But either intentionally or by mistake, he did not. The teacher, however, remembered about Bakr and Zayd asked Zayd, "Is anyone else going?" Zayd confirmed Bakr will be there. To which the teacher replied, "Why did you not mention this? Are you trying to mislead me?" Zayd was warned never to deceive anybody, especially his elderly guardian. A student once asked about one of the staff. He's giving examples at the end of this section about how etiquette, practical examples, how, because once you put in the practical cases, then it's easier to picture the thing. Maybe it's not specific, but we can take principles from this. A student once asked about one of the staff and replied that he was sleeping, but it turned out that he was actually awake in the room. The student was reprimanded because he stated something with certainty that which he had not confirmed. Rather than saying he wasn't sure, his reply should have been, maybe he's sleeping. The best, most honest response would be to say he didn't know and then go and find out. I'll just finish this here. Another consequence is that member of a staff may have been needed for something, but because he was thought to be sleeping, he was not called for. Finding out later that he was actually awake would cause blame for the one who said it and annoyance for the one who needed the teacher. All of this from saying something without certainty. So in conclusion, right at the beginning of this chapter or this book, Mawlana Ashraf Ali Thanawi said he gave all these ahadith. Now he's giving all cases, and the author is putting all these cases together for our benefit, inshallah. That the center of all social manners is what? Is to be considerate of others. So he's showing you all different cases where a person is inconsiderate. Even it's minor, but like he said, in the place where no one annoys each other, harms each other. Because these are annoyances at smaller levels, but annoyances can, first starts with takallufi. Like informality. And informality then breeds, the next is adabi. Because once you become too informal, somebody said the other day, in the mosque, I don't feel like it's a very close community. I said, it's not that. I said, you get the wrong impression. People who come to the mosque, especially the ones who come to the mosque for a long time, right? They generally like to keep to themselves. They're friendly with each other. They'll have a coffee and whatever, but they don't overdo it because they're here for the long term. So they maintain a level of formality. And when you have a level of formality, it may seem cold for those who don't know, but it's to preserve this long-term attendance to the masjid, that I don't want anything to disturb anything else to come into it. Second thing is, like I said, so takallufi, informality leads to adabi, leads to disrespect, lack of manners. And lack of manners leads to the third stage, which is hurmati, which is lack of loose sanctity. People cross the lines, like of sanctity of another Muslim, right? They will, backbiting, all the other worst traits. Even people get violent as well, will abuse, swear, back, but all the list will come after. Why? What's a precept to that? Lack of adab, decorum, right? And before that, you became informal. Be'adabi doesn't come out of thin air, like lack of manners, like with people, like you're disrespectful. Disrespect comes out of another thing, which is become too informal. And you don't know the people in the masjid too well. Like, I don't know you. Like, people ask for marriage, about people coming to the mosque, what do you think about him? I said, if I'm in a masjid, even when I lived here, it's like, the person, I see the person for 1 hour. What they do for other 23 hours, I don't know. Like what he's doing for 23 hours, what his rest of his life is. Back home, someone's living in the gully, in the alleyway. His whole life is like an open book in front of his family. So people for marriage and can vouch, they know his character. It's usually the extended family. But here, like, I don't know what you guys are doing. People, somebody called me about one brother. He did get married. He said, what do you think about him? I said, he looks like a good guy. That's the most you're going to get out of him. He looks like a person of good akhlaq. I can't, that's all, that's a maximum I'll say. Anyway, lack takalluf, like formality, and then if that is lost, then it becomes disrespectful, like a lack of manners, and the lack of manners ends up in crossing the bihurmati, is losing the sanctity, crossing the lines of sharia, like getting into the haram. Haram, that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give an understanding tawfiq to practice what we say here. Jazakumullah khair.